Stay tuned for an encore rebroadcast of a Lost Treasures episode from September of 2018.
WOWD LP Tacoma Park. taking it out there. Mr. Andrew White, that recording coming from the Andrews Music label. That was from Andrews Music number 5. You heard Mr. Andrew White there on saxophone, Kevin Toney on piano, Steve Novosel on bass, and Keith Kilgo on drums, recorded in 1974 here in Silver Spring. You are listening to Lost Treasures with DJ Mackey, and we've got 2 very special guests in the studio. We are coming up. We just celebrated, actually, not coming up. We just celebrated a very important anniversary in terms of music, not just in Washington, D.C., but in the greater world. And that anniversary was September 23rd. It's a significant date. Welcome, Mr. Andrew White, in studio.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a big thrill. That music sounds good.
It still sounds good, man. It's still changing hearts and changing minds. And I've got also D.C. Public Library archivist and historian, Mr. Ray Barker. Ray?
Hi, Mark. Hi, Andrew.
Morning. So, Andrew, can you tell us the significance of September 23rd?
Okay, well, I guess the main significance is that it's the same date for John Coltrane's birthday and Andrew's Music birthday. I didn't realize that until about 8 years after Andrew's Music started. I was doing some legal work, and I had to use my corporation charter. And I was looking at the charter, and it said September 23rd. And starting then, I said, well, wait a minute, that's a good hook. Like in the record, that's a good hook. So I started dating my international press releases September 23rd because of Coltrane's birthday and Andrew's Music birthday. So it's been going on like that since about 1979, I guess.
Yeah, but your actual Andrew's Music, that is Musical Enterprises Incorporated, started in 1971.
Right.
And so we're here to celebrate 47 years
right.
that amazing project, which is still going strong.
Still going strong.
What compelled you to start that label? What compelled you to start Musical Enterprises Incorporated?
Well, I remember specifically, it came about in about May of 1971. I was the bass player with the Fifth Dimension, from the singing group from California, from November of 1970 to November of 1976. Starting in May of 71, I was approached to take the bass player named Clint Houston. You remember him? Mm-hmm. He's gone now. He was the bass player for a show downtown at the National Theater, Hair. Hair was here for a long time. And something came up where he had to be gone. And so I don't know how it happened, but make a long story short, I got the call from New York to see if I could work Hair. And it just so happened, it's a real freak thing, it just so happened I was going to be off from the Fifth Dimension for the same 10 weeks that Clint Houston was going to be gone.
Right.
And so we worked it out with the New York contractor. Other than some TV for 2 days I had to do in Canada, I was free for those 10 weeks. So I used to take the bus sometime down to the National Theater from my house, and other times I might take a cab. This day I took a cab and I was down at, I think, 13th and G Street, and it hit me. I said, I'm getting wealthy here and that have nothing to do with the money. And then all of it came together at once. My jazz, my classical music, my pop music, and certain ideas I had that were actually publication based. So I said, well, let me see, I should try to figure out a way to consolidate all of this. Next thing you know, Andrew's Music was born on September 23rd.
And so you incorporated 47 years ago.
I incorporated in June. I had legal work started in June, and the corporation charter was granted on September 23rd.
And some amazing stuff's come out of that. I mean, it's just a broad, the depth and the scope of the stuff that you've done, Andrew, is phenomenal.
Yeah, I know.
And you don't look a day over 50, man.
I'm 76 now. I just turned 76 on September on September 6th. I had my 76th birthday.
Well, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
So, Ray, you know about Andrew's music, like the scope and the depth and all the stuff that has come through this man and through his corporation. So,
Right, yeah. There were just a couple of things I was going to ask you about Andrew. the notion of you have the newsletter that you send out and you update it with sort of new information. You package that up and get it printed down the street and send it out sort of all over the world, right? Is that how you kind of share information about your catalog, the growing catalog?
At least once a year, I have my international press release that comes out on September 23rd. Sometimes for very important releases that happen mid-year or some other part of the year that can't wait for September 23rd, I'll also do international press releases to address that fact rather than have to sit on something until September. Yeah.
Right. And then, so this newsletter goes out, and one of the early conversations I had with you, and not to talk about semantics too much, was the notion of the self-produced products. And one might see in there something about this notion of the independent artist, and you think about that follows with an independent label and all that stuff. But your gig, in my mind, is a lot different than that, a lot more complicated, and this notion of the business. Can you talk about that, the sort of those differences?
Yeah, the main thing is that I am not an independent business. I am a self-produced business. Independence means somewhat independent, but it always or usually involves somebody else's money. Money is at the core of business, and I make the distinction, especially in my case, after 3,000 products and services, over 3,000 products and services. I have to make the distinction that I'm self-produced because there's so many similarities in the qualitative level in many of my products that appear to be independent all the way up to major league, and it's not true. It's all self-produced. I cannot go to a bank and get money to transcribe a Coltrane solo, right? So I have to do that out of my pocket, as well as everything else that we've done over the years under the Andrews Music Guide.
And Mark and I all of us have had some fun this morning before the show, pawing through the vinyl records, and what I like is, I have a handful, of course, and they're all out there, but one other thing I really like is they're all numbered, so someone can kind of collect them all, and I've got Who Got the Funk. I think that's Andrews Music number 4.
Yeah, that's queued up. That's coming up soon.
So you can, try to track this down, try to slowly build the 3,000 library yourself, So, I mean, can we talk a little bit about, I know the vinyl's out there, but sort of, we have these individual numbers. It's sort of an index here on your newsletter that just went out a couple of days ago on the 23rd, but the books and treatises and the famous articles, instrumental music series, sound recordings or tapes and audio and CDs and vinyl and stuff. Can we talk about, some of this is like video demonstration cassettes. Can we talk about some of the non-traditional products aside from all the vinyl? Like, can we get a little more detail on some of that stuff, Andrew, and what it's used for?
Well, I've never thought of it like that. All I'm doing is just giving a general synopsis of what we publish. And specifically, you got anything in mind in terms of?
Oh yeah, like the instructional stuff, like that. That's kind of interesting. This demonstration, how that demonstration cassettes are used, for example.
Okay. We have a series of about 42 demonstration cassettes that demonstrate certain aspects of our catalog, such as the record division. I think that that is a demonstration cassette that gave segments of various and sundry records within our record catalog. So somebody could get that after finding out about my records and maybe hearing one, they want to know if I got any more. And, and I'll say, well, get this cassette and you can go for yourself, And they'll end up buying that cassette and end up buying all of the records that are sampled on the cassette.
That's it. And then I just, one more final thing was, there's no website, of course. There's no, email blast that goes out. This is all, you're calling your phone number or writing you, and they still get that outgoing message at Andrews Musical Enterprises Incorporated. And sort of that's how the business is managed, right? And it all sort of traces back to you, which I find really, really fascinating.
Well, thank you very much. It's all been very good that way. And I have to give myself credit for being, introspective enough to realize starting on September 23rd, 1973. This was the date that I released my first 5 volumes of transcriptions of John Coltrane improvisations, a series of 209. I'll never be able to thank Coltrane or whoever, but that was the magic bullet, and it came 2 years after Andrew's music started. So I would say that within 6 months of September 23rd, 1973, everything metamorphosized and just exploded for us because of the Coltrane Association through the transcriptions.
Sure.
Now it wouldn't be because I played some Coltrane's tunes or anything like that. But the unique thing was that I had encyclopedia size through my publication of those transcriptions, John Coltrane,
Sure.
Coltrane is, as far as I know, the most significant linguistic contributor to the language of jazz in the history of jazz.
No doubt.
And in my experience, he was the number one guy that everybody wanted to know about.
Yep.
So when the Coltrane transcription started for us, everything exploded.
And thank God it did. We're talking to Mr. Andrew White in studio today, our special guest here on Lost Treasures. Andrew, of course, as a musician, as a master instrumentalist, as a jazz saxophonist, as a classical oboist, as an electric funk and rock bassist, has done pretty much everything and has even expanded into hip-hop, because we're going to listen to a track right now, one of the seminal Andrew White tracks called Who Got the Funk, which has been heavily sampled by DJs and has come into the hip-hop realm. And we're going to do that right now. Who got the funk, Andrew?
I got the funk.
Who got it? I got it now. Joe done got the funk.
listening to Mr. Andrew White on 94.3 WOWD. Lost Treasures here with DJ Mackey. And very happy to have him in studio. Every other Saturday, you can tune in here to Lost Treasures on WOWD, streaming live on the internet, TacomaRadio.org. And we're going to go back to, I got a question for you, Mr. White, which is you got 68 releases on your label over the years, 68. And that's just a minuscule amount of the work you've done in terms of transcriptions and also your own documented compositions that you've done, your recordings, your instructional information, all that stuff, instructional tapes. When you created Andrew's music, did that allow you to expand your audience beyond the DC music scene and expand internationally?
Well, it expanded from the beginning, from AM1, my first record, because I was already well known on the national and international levels before Andrew's music, as a funk bass player with Stevie Wonder and the Fifth Dimension, as the principal oboist with the American Ballet Theatre in New York. And I had made 2 records with McCoy Tyner, and of course the JFK Quintet from back in 1961 through 63.
Right, on Riverside Records.
On Riverside,
that's right.
yeah.
2 important recordings there.
Right. So I was well on my way in terms of being able to utilize a catalyst that would put everything in one perspective or one scope, so to speak, that could explode with any catalyst that would come along and just knock the top off of the head of everything that was going on in Andrew's music. Like I said earlier, it was actually the Coltrane thing that happened in September 23rd, 1973. The association of me as a musicologist with the Coltrane legacy through the transcriptions shot everything straight to the moon in terms of an explosion. And that is true. It's within the context of me being from Washington, D.C. I've always stressed that in all of my career, that I am from Washington, D.C. A lot of people want to confuse me with my New York persona. I have that too, but I live here. I've been in my house, the house I'm in now, I've been in 51 years. So I am a DC musician, put it that way.
And you've got that, Howard University connection and playing in the early 60s, and you've got all those experiences too.
Right,
the places you firmly in D.C. Mm-hmm. So we're going to transition. Actually, there's a big event coming up in your life and in your career in Copenhagen and Denmark here in October. And we haven't talked about this at all, but speaking about the international response, and in this growth, understanding of your music and appreciation all over the world. But can we talk about a jazz concerto? We were talking about it on the drive-in here a little bit.
Yeah.
More, but can we talk?
I'm going to the Jeverdup Accordion Trap Symposium of composers and improvisers in Copenhagen, Denmark. It is a symposium that goes from October 21st through the 27th, and it culminates with a grand concert on the 27th, which will feature the world premiere of my 8th edition of my jazz concerto.
Right, and that's a big piece.
It's a big piece, yeah. The piece in general is the first 7 versions of the piece are about between 25 and 30 minutes. This one was scheduled to be around 40 minutes, but I'm not going to do all 4 movements of it. I'm only going to do 2 because we are involving some improvisers here in this event. So I said, let me go ahead and utilize that, and it'll give another slant to the jazz concerto as it has been for the past 37 years.
I was just going to say quickly, it's like 50 people playing.
Yeah,
right?
So far, the last figure I heard, we had about 51 people in this group.
That's great. And Andrew, you've got fans in not just Denmark and France, but in Japan. I mean, your mailing list, man, at this point must be pretty extensive.
We're all over the place. Yeah.
Well, it's great. You're going to Denmark and you're going to be performing. And again, the date is October 27th,
right,
2018. And I've read online somewhere that there will be some documentation of this. So people who get on the internet, I know you are not of that generation. But the people who get on the internet hopefully will be able to find documentation or streaming of this event. So.
Well, yeah, I've heard that they are really plugging this whole thing, but I've had people calling me back even before I took care of my business with this concern, and they said, I hear you coming over here. Like, so I said, well, I guess when you're hot, you're hot.
That's right. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. You're listening to WOWDLP Tacoma Park, 94.3 FM, tacomaradio.org. Do a quick break, and we'll be right back with Mr. Andrew White and Mr. Ray Barker here in studio.
Support for Tacoma Radio comes from the DC House Smarts team at Compass of Katerina Banier and Marcy Sandalo, real estate agents working with buyers and sellers in the Washington metro area.
Andrew White here in studio. We're talking about your international presence, which is profound, but we're also talking about here in DC. Many years you've had residencies at places like Blues Alley, all these clubs. But also one of the things that was happening in DC, especially I'm looking at a recording here that was made. This is Andrew's Music number 2. This is the second one, which is called Live at the New Thing. And Ray and I are both very interested in kind of the organic DC music scene or art scene where spaces were just kind of created out of these places that were not traditional venues. Can you tell me a little bit about this recording and about this place, The New Thing in Washington, D.C.?
The New Thing was an art and architectural enterprise, community based, and as part of their activities, they had a concert series at St. Margaret's Church over on was it Connecticut Avenue?
I believe so.
Yeah. And I think the concerts were on Tuesday nights, and I did several over there. And this one was recorded in June, I think, 1969 or 70, something like that.
I think it's Ray. You've got the record there up at the top.
I've got May 71
up at the top.
Oh, there we go. June 2nd, 1970, sir.
Yeah, 1970. Okay. So this was in the basement of a church.
Yeah.
This was part of a series that people were doing in a non-traditional venue.
Right.
And I'm sure if the churchgoers had been upstairs, they would have said, what is that downstairs?
They're saying that about me now. They said, what's wrong with you? Yeah, well, I don't know if anybody else ever got any sound recording out of that series, but as I've said earlier, I've always considered myself a commercial player. Mm-hmm. Not like Coltrane and Miles and them. Those cats were considered artists who were taken and groomed, so to speak, by representation. I never did that. I came to Washington as a commercial player. Mm-hmm. And so I thought about it while I was playing those concerts. And then whenever we did that one concert that was recorded, and I took that and made this double album.
Let's hear it. This is the number 2. This is the second release on Andrew's Music.
Right.
Recorded in June of 1970 at St. Margaret's Episcopal Church, Washington, D.C. Let's cut into a long track here. This is B-flat rhythm.
Yeah.
Here we go, Mr. Andrew White. You are listening to Mr. Andrew White, who's live in studio with us. That's a recording, B-flat rhythm, that's going back to 1970, recorded here locally live in D.C. at St. Margaret's Episcopal Church. And our show is going to be wrapping up here soon, but I just wanted to quickly mention that we have barely scratched the surface of this man's legacy. If you want just to get the short of it, I would recommend picking up his 794-page autobiography. It's called Everybody Loves the Sugar, and it's a great read. Andrew, this is still in print, and you can still get copies. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. Very much so.
This tells Andrew's entire life story, actually up till now.
Yeah.
Right?
Up to that point.
Up to that point when that came out. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with this massive tome, which is just full of great stories and anecdotes, and not just about music, but about life in general, as he says here, I mean, it's pretty much everything, right? Sex, drugs, who? Not me. Rock and roll, jazz life, classical music, strife, blackmail in America, Miles Davis, all this, John Coltrane. You can't get enough. Everybody loves the sugar. For more information on Andrew's music, you can contact him through Andrew's Music, which is at 4830 South Dakota Avenue Northeast, where he's been for the last
51 years.
51 years and counting. And 202-526-3666. Little plug there for Andrew's Music, which is a great enterprise. And I should mention, Andrew, let's be fair, you are not the sole force behind Andrew's Music, because you also had a partner in crime, Miss Jocelyn.
Yes, indeed. Jocelyn, she was my wife for 41 years, and she passed on May 24th, 2011. And she's still with me. She's still on there. I haven't changed the house or anything. Everything is right there. And I'm going down to Paris, as a matter of fact, after Copenhagen. I'm going down to visit the family there.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And last time I was over there was when she, they had a memorial service for her in July of 2011. And I haven't been back since, so I'm going down there after Copenhagen.
And I was just going to say that for Jocelyn, you've got the house next door, right? And just sort of in honor of her and the artwork and stuff. You want to talk about that?
She's a painter, and the house across the alley from where I am is, we call it Villa Pablina, which is, Pablina, I nicknamed her Pablina as the feminine version of Pablo, for Pablo Picasso. She was French. He was, I think he was Spanish, I believe. Mm-hmm. And so it's an ongoing in-resident gallery of many of her paintings, and we used to have shows there and events and all, and so it's all just intact as it was when she left it.
Yeah, well, she is a great lady. We miss her. So
yeah.
She was always at your merchandise table selling all your CDs and all your stuff. So just real quick as we go out here, I'd like to thank Mr. Ray Barker, who, Ray, you put on a panel discussion at Goethe Institute, and we had Mr. Andrew White there. Could you just tell us quickly, that was what, last?
That was in January of this year.
Yeah. What was that? That event was specifically around?
Exactly, right. So, and then we're bringing Steve Corn in here from Rhizome in a few minutes, but we're going to talk about an event we have coming up. But that was an assembly of, people related to or focused on alternative spaces, alternative art spaces, and Andrew came and played. This was at Goethe, as Mark said, and then Blair Murphy was talking about the zine that she had published on DC-specific artist-run venues, and Cynthia Connolly was there and her connection to DC Space and Discord Records, and Bill Worrell was there talking about DC Space, and it was well attended.
Yeah, it was well attended. Great event you put together, and Andrew really kicked it off with us with a live performance. People really got their money's worth, even though it was a free event. We got our money's worth for sure. It was great. So I just want to thank Mr. Andrew White, multi-instrumentalist, masterful musicologist, jazz legend, master transcriber, Coltrane connoisseur, the splendiferous, the magnificent Mr. Andrew White. Thank you, Andrew, for being here.
Thank you so much. Can I give one more little plug?
Do it, man.
That solo you just heard from Live at the New Thing.
Yeah, the B-flat rhythm.
Oh, yeah. Not only do I publish transcriptions of John Coltrane and Charlie Parker and Eric Dolphy, I publish 80 transcriptions of myself. And the one that you heard, that solo you just heard, I published that one as well.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and you can get all that stuff through Andrew's Music. I gave you that information, and we'll put that information on the website too, so people can get in touch with you. And hey, good luck in Denmark, man.
Thank you very
It's gonna
much.
be wonderful.
Okay.
We're going to transition here. We're going to bring in Steve Korn here, and thanks, Andrew and Ray. Just stick around. We'll be right back. We're listening to Lost Treasures here on WOWD FM, Tacoma Park. Listening to some more Andrew White there, coming from his Funk Update, which was recorded way back in 1981, listening to a little cover of Afro Blue. And in studio, we have special guest Steve Korn, DJ here at WOWD, and also promoter at Rhizome. And with Ray Barker, we're just